Greetings everyone, my name is Gabriel and this is going to be a video with general messages for the sign of Pisces for the month of December in 2019. I've been reading Lenormand for about 6 or 7 years for family and friends, and tarot for even longer than that. And I noticed here on YouTube, I didn't see a lot of people reading Grand Tableau, at least in English. So I thought I would go ahead and give this a shot. So without too much further ado, let's go ahead and begin. What are the messages for the sign of Pisces for December 2019? Messages for the sign of Pisces for December 2019. And here we go. Our first card is the Scythe. The Clouds. Ship. Heart. Bear. The Ways. Cross. The Clover. And the Coffin. The Fish. Child. And Ring. Snake. And Sun. The Bouquet. The Tree. The Garden and the Letter. The Mountain. Fox. The Anchor. The Moon. The Stars. House. Whip. Stork. And Dog. The Birds. Rider. The Tower and Book. Rats. Key. Lilies. The Woman and the Man. Wow. So Pisces, I'll begin this video with the usual spiel that I say at the beginning of all of these videos for those of you who are familiar with how one reads the Grand Tableau. Pardon me. We have our two significators here. Generally, in a one-on-one reading, we would look at the person in front of us, and if that person is a man, we look at the man significator and the signatures around him. If the person is a woman, we look at her and the cards around her, and this gives us a starting place. In these videos, because we're looking at salient themes for everybody of the sign of Pisces for an entire month, we would kind of ping back and forth over these significators, or kind of use both of them. And that is much more obvious when both of these significators are not placed side by side. Because these are placed side by side, it does give me this sense that there is a very salient message for everybody of the sign of Pisces. There is a very solidified energy for this month. And I think it's going to have a lot to do with it's going to have a lot to do with changes in terms of money. I think a lot of you are going to have to refocus on stabilizing your expenditures, recommit yourself to basically your budget. I think it's going to be a really, really important month for you to look at the in and out of what your money does. I think that's going to be a central message for this month. In terms of your health, I think it's going to be very important for you to keep some type of daily routine. And I mean that in the most minute sense. I get this sense that your discipline in terms of, your daily routine, your daily life, I feel like it's kind of slid a little bit. And this kind of message here, we have tree, which one of the significations of the tree is going to be your health, your well-being, right? So the kind of the larger message of your health, your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, how well you feel, in addition to just your actual physical health. I think it's going to be a month where it becomes very important for you to reestablish yourself in a healthy daily pattern. Obviously, this is December. For those of us who live, in the northern latitudes, it's very, very cold. I know it's actually snowing right now where I am. And in those months, it can be very, very difficult for, I speaking for myself, to keep a healthy daily routine. It can be difficult to not sleep in until 10:30, 11 o'clock. It can be difficult to keep myself going to the gym even when it's dreadfully cold outside. It can be difficult to not emotionally eat. This is the month of the holidays, and obviously that brings up a whole lot of things for people as well. This is a month, here we have cross, which explains that which is critical for you. Right next to the card of decisions, below that we have the card of health and well-being, and then we have the card of discipline. It's going to be really important for you, pardon me, to manifest discipline in how you take care of yourself this month. Because this is showing up the way it is, it kind of tells me that that's maybe slid for you a little bit. The message here is to get that back on track. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Also, notice if you're getting too much. Both of these things are not too good if they're leaning one way or the other too much. I think it's also going to be very necessary for many of you to re-examine the energy that you are spending in communicating with people, right? So I love this whole, Marie Kondo thing that started happening in the early 2000s, and now she had that thing on Netflix. And basically, for those of you who are not aware, her message is that everything in your home, everything in your personal space should either be beautiful or meaningful, right? Like that's, at least as I understand it, that's the general message. And I think that's an awesome message because ultimately we can extend that into every aspect of our lives, right? Everything in your life should have some type of utility that is geared towards your well-being, or it should be simply beautiful to you. It should have some larger message of beauty. And that includes our interpersonal communications as well. Now, obviously, in work, especially if you work in sales or some type of, job where you're public facing, this can be very difficult. But I think the general message here, we have one of the significators, loyalty, or that which you are expressing loyalty in, that which you are loyal to. We also have the letter, which is going to be communications, written, verbal communications. With it being the letter, it kind of gives me this sense of planned communication, or communication with some type of utility. Communication where you're not just idly chattering, but the type of communication where you're trying to express something. And then up here we have the coffin. The coffin is an expression of utility. The message of the coffin is to simplify. This tells me here that for many of you of the sign of Pisces, this is also a month to, and perhaps it's kind of in line with that, reestablishing yourself in the discipline of being well. You also are being called to express that in your interpersonal communications as well. Perhaps, and I'm just trying to think of ways that this can be made manifest. I know how it feels to be maybe addicted to social media, or how it feels to be caught on your phone all the time, or perhaps in a work scenario, you have just taken on too much that requires you to be a public person and to be on all the time. The message here with loyalty, outward communication, and then the coffin, which is simplify, condense, make it concise. The message here is to maybe draw back from that a little bit. Maybe focusing on your communications as either being beautiful in the sense that they have some type of meaning to you, or they are pleasing to you, things that fill your cup, communications that fill your cup, or communications that are necessary in some sense. It's very easy to drain a lot of energy into just the gibber gabber. It's very easy to talk yourself to death. I feel like many of you are going to, this would be a very good month for you to, I feel as though many of you are pursuing schooling of some type. So here we have the Tower, which speaks to institutions, things which have some type of bureaucracy attached to them. It can also speak to foundations. Right next to the card of new beginnings, the writer expresses that which is being made manifest in your life. And then here we have the book, which is something being revealed. It can also stand for wisdom. With the two of these together, to me, it talks about organized learning. Perhaps if you're not actually enrolling in school, this is a really good month for you to maybe pick up some type of certification, or to enroll in some type of course, maybe audit a course at a community college, something like that. Maybe if you're not actually able, I mean, I realize it's December and it's a little late to do anything, quite like that, but some type of learning, if you've been thinking about maybe doing some type of career development, picking up a certification in your field, or maybe it's just spending time with a good book, something that you are interested in. It's going to be a really beneficial month for you to do that. I keep going back to kind of being connected to your career. Above the Tower, we also have the Anchor, which is one of the signifiers for career. For many of you of the sign of Pisces, I think this month would be very beneficial for you to investigate how you can engage in some type of ongoing professional development. I think that's going to be very positive for you as well. Um, And I think all of these messages, right? We have this message of really consolidating your life, consolidating the output of your energy. Here we have consolidating your finances, restabilize yourself in the interests, the intellectual pursuits that are important to you, especially those pursuits that are connected to your job, or maybe if it's not, how you make a majority of your money, your career as what you identify with. Whatever you spend a lot of time doing, studying something new in that area is going to be very beneficial for you this month. It's going to be a very positive thing. I think there are going to be ample opportunities this month for you to really make the decisions to do these things. So here we have heart, bear, the ways, and the sun, and then also the bouquet. So the heart represents really all of the emotions that you can feel, the entire spectrum of the human heart, all of the emotions, happy, sad, everything in between, the emotional body. The bear can represent strength, stability. It also represents self-agency, your personal power, the ability to exhibit your personal power. We have the ways, which represents choice. The cross represents a critical period, that which is very necessary for you to do. The bouquet is like a bundle of things all arriving together. And the sun, it's a card of positivity, consciousness. It is one of the most positive cards in the deck. It kind of radiates outward. So this kind of tells me that there are going to be ample opportunities for you to exhibit your self-agency, exhibit Pisces at its most stable this month, at its most emotionally stable, at its ability to make the wisest decisions for yourself. I think it's going to be a month for you to truly recommit yourself to your soul's purpose. And I know that sounds very, ethereal, right? That sounds very crunchy granola. But really, that's kind of what we're doing, right? Whenever we trim the fat from our lives, whenever we take the things in our lives and we weigh them and we see, okay, is this useful? Does this have utility? Or is this just fluff? And if it's fluff, we throw it out. Whenever you engage in that process, ultimately what you're doing at a minute level is recommitting to your deepest desires, your deepest wishes, the joys of your heart. So here we have the ship. And the ship can mean many things. On a surface level, it means travel. It can represent all types of journeys, voyages. In an archetypal way, the ship represents the soul, wishes, your deep innermost desires, being guided by a purpose. At the time of this oracle's creation, people would board a ship with the understanding that the ship would set sail, and at some point they wouldn't be able to see land, and all they would see is just barren ocean all around them. And they'd be guided by the stars with the understanding that hopefully they would land in a friendly port. It's a card of yearning. It's a card of hope, looking outward, looking upward and outward, on to newer and better things. Just below the ship is the ring, which is a card of commitment. Below the ring is the anchor, that which you anchor yourself in, that which you find stability in. Reestablish yourself, re-anchor yourself, recommit yourself to the things that fill your cup emotionally, intellectually. And the best way to do that this month is to first start trimming the fat. We also have, in the house of the rider, in the very first position, we have the scythe. The scythe is like a surgeon's scalpel, right? The scythe makes cuts. It's quick, it's sharp, it's irrevocable. The scythe is an object of utility, right? A scythe is good for one thing. It trims, it cuts the grain, it separates the grain from the chaff, that which is useful to us and that which is trash, right? And it's harsh, and in its challenging aspect, it can be, cutting off relationships. It can be endings of all kinds. But it also has a very positive quality. In that, when we're able to trim the fat, you can see what is truly most important to you. The scythe is right next to the clouds, which is, the clouds are nebulous, they are unstable. It reasserts that message of cutting out that which has no meaning for you, trimming the instability from your life. Trimming out those things that have that kind of wishy-washy or meaningless quality, things that have that shapeless quality. I think this is a month where you're going to have ample opportunity to trim those things from your life, to let those things go. Or maybe not letting them go. Maybe it doesn't look quite that serious. But you're going to have ample opportunity this month to say, no, thank you. You're going to have ample opportunity this month to say, I think I'm just going to spend an evening inside with a book. Or you're going to have ample opportunity this month to reinvest in something that you really care about, some type of learning. I keep going back to the intellectual body, right? So there are different layers of the human body. There's like the emotional layer, there's the intellectual layer, there's obviously the physical layer, and they all kind of play into one another. But I think especially Pisces, for you this month, you're going to have ample opportunity to trim away at that excess and then recommit to that intellectual layer. Just above the card of wisdom, we have the moon, which kind of represents that gut, genetic level intuition that we all have. Intuition as our true first language. The snake, which again can mean a lot of things, as many of these cards can. One of the meanings for the snake for me is wisdom. Wise discrimination. And then here we come back to the heart. In this way, your emotional body and your intellectual body are very much connected this month. And your ability to trim away at that excess is going to bring these two things back into close alignment. There's so much potential this month for you to express that wisdom towards yourself, wisdom tempered with compassion, recommitting to that which is best for you, the highest good for you. And nonetheless, the way that's going to be accomplished, the medicine, right? The things that you can do, boots on the ground, to take immediate action, is to learn how and when to pull back, right? To say no, to spend some time alone, or maybe not alone, but spend some time with things and with people that actually have meaning, things that fill your cup. Pisces, it's a beautiful energy this month. There's so much potential. I love this kind of placement here with heart and book, the emotional body, the intellectual body, and then cards of wisdom and intuition between the two of them. We also have cards of stabilization, a foundation, commitment. All of these are very, very beautiful. Pardon me. And Pisces, the way that you can manifest this energy, that you can tap into this vein, is simply by reestablishing where you're putting your attention. What are you habituating? Especially your attention in your outward communication. I said it before, it's interesting that this is the month of the holidays because obviously, all kinds of things come up with, people asking for our attention, for our time around the holidays. Use this time period as an exercise to stay rooted in yourself, to make your communications meaningful and concise, and to recommit to feeding your emotional body and your intellectual layer. Pisces, I'll be sending you all of my good vibes from now through the end of the year. Again, my name is Gabriel. Lenormand is something that I'm super passionate about, so I hope to be uploading these Lenormand scopes, I guess you could call them, every month for all of the signs. In addition to the Lenormand, I read an 18th century Italian oracle called La Vera Sibilla. You may see that here as well. And of course, I also read Marseille style tarot, so that may make an appearance. I do have lots of, I think, fun things planned. Please feel free to leave any feedback, comments in the comment section below. But until next time, ciao.